What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Hicks Fishing. So today I got one of my good buddies, Chris Martin. He's on his way back home to Savannah. He took a detour trip to Alaska for a little while. We're not going to talk about it. He's coming through town on his way back home. College fraternity brother, known each other a long time, college roommate. He's the guy that I've told you guys about, Hobie guy, got me into kayak fishing. Started off with an old town canoe, an old green old town canoe, and he's been doing this, what, 7, 8 years?
Oh, longer than that, probably close to 15. It's been a while.
So, long time, helped me get into it. So, with him going home, we decided it was a good time. We've talked about this before. The $0 to $1,000 threshold, the $1,000 to $3,000 mid-range intermediate threshold, and that $3,000 and up. And for somebody who started at the bottom and worked his way to the top, and me being at the bottom looking at maybe intermediate next year, we decided, all right, now's a good time. We're going to do our top 10 under 1,000 kayaks, under $1,000 kayaks. But before we do, I'm kind of taking you guys on this journey with me, unintentionally, because I've mentioned a couple of times with the diagnosis and everything, because not to be a victim, again, just plays into the decisions I make and stuff. We had some great news this week, and I get to have a beer based on what my doctor said. So, not a lot, just a little. But if you notice, we have green shirts on because it's also just happens to be St. Patty's Day. So, for today's video, we're going to give you all a cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to springtime. Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody out there. If you're going to celebrate, celebrate responsibly. And the weather's right, so it's time to start fishing and stop talking about it. So let's get higgy with it. Alright guys, so we're going to get right into it. So, this is our list, top 10 kayaks under $1,000. It's not in any particular order. And like we've said before, like I've said before on the channel, I wanted to do this because this year in 2022, a lot's changed. A lot of pricing's changed. There's a lot of kayaks like the Seaghost that was only $900 last year that have increased above $1,000 because of everything we got going on in the world today, the price of plastics, so on and so forth. So, to get straight into it, at number 10, it's a Lifetime Tamarack Angler 10 foot. So coming in at $310, it's a very affordable boat. And YouTube kind of gives me some ideas of the age groups of people who watch the channel. And the number one age group of people who are watching my channel right now are 18 to 25. And number two, by a very short margin, is 25 to 35. So for you 18 to 25 year olds, I'm looking at all the college students, everybody getting started out, guys and girls trying to get into it. This is a great boat because it's only $310. It's affordable. You gotta watch the weight capacity, but it's enough of a boat where you can get a couple rods in it. You can also get a small cooler, so you can get off the bank, get off that bucket, and get out on the water. So again, number 10, the Lifetime Tamarack Angler.
Coming in at number 9 now, we've got the Heritage Angler 10 foot. So this boat is going to be a little bit more expensive, not a whole lot. We're still under that $500 mark, but this boat comes in about the $450 range. So it's going to have roughly about the same stuff that the Lifetime does, but it's a little bit different build, a little bit different on the setup that it's got. It's got about a 325 pound weight capacity, so still about the same there. It's only 60 pounds, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's probably not going to have the stability as some of the ones in the higher end of this category, so you may not want to do a whole lot of stand-up fishing, but in all reality, if you're somebody's just getting started on kayak fishing, you might not be the most confident standing up in a kayak anyways, so it might not be a problem for you, and you can eventually move up in price category in the future, but it'd be a great starter as well. So coming in at number 9, you get the Heritage Angler 10. And also coming in at number 8, we'll keep going, is the Old Town Vapor. I believe this is the 10.5 footer. So this one's going to be just over that $500 price mark, coming in at about $600. It's got the same weight capacity, 325 pounds, But the key with this one is it's going to be a lot lighter. I think this is the lightest kayak on this entire list that we've got out of all 10 of them that we're going to talk about today, at 49 pounds. So if you're looking for a really light kayak that you don't want to have to lug around all the time, it's a little bit easier to handle. All kayaks are a little awkward, but it's a lot lighter, a little bit easier to handle. So just under that 50-pound mark. Now the biggest difference with this one than all the other ones we're going to talk about too is it is a sit inside kayak. So that means you're going to sit down in the hole. It's not a molded where you've got a seat standing up on the kayak like he's shown you in his Sea Ghost, but it's going to be kind of a cushion down inside the hole, so you have a lower center of gravity, a little bit more stability when you're sitting in the kayak. Once again, you're not going to be able to stand in this one, but like I mentioned, if you're not used to being in a kayak anyways, that's probably not going to be a big deal for you. But number 8 rather, is the Old Town Vapor 10.5-foot kayak.
So, before I get to number 7, I forgot. If you're getting something out of this channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button below, drop a comment, and by the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning, if we missed something, I am gonna put the links down below for each one of these boats, and some other boats that we're not gonna talk about that may fit this category of under 1,000. They're just not in our top 10 under 1,000, so you guys can kind of go through and start looking, start doing your research, because I know how hard it is to try to Google all this stuff on your own. So again, 2 things: hit like, hit subscribe. 3 things: hit like, hit subscribe. And if you have any other questions, I'm going to add the links below so you can actually go in and look at the specs for each one of these. So fast forward. Coming in at number 7, one of my personal favorites and one of the ones that he suggested I get when I got started as a Vibe fan is the Vibe Yellowfin 100. And the reason why he suggested it is because it comes in, what is it now? We have a cheat sheet. It comes in now at $800. Last year it came in at $650. That's how these things are climbing. But he suggested it because if you look at the Lifetime Tamarack Angler 12-footer, not the 10-footer we just discussed, the 12-footer, you're already up to $650, $700. So by the time you start to get up in certain brands like Lifetime and Perception, or not Perception, Lifetime, Heritage, Pelican, you start getting into that price point, then you really, at that point, you ought to look, even if you're still in college, just look at brands like Vibe, Old Town, so on and so forth, because they're a little bit more sturdy, they're a little bit more easier to use. We actually bought a Yellowfin 100 and it used to sit on top of this, and it's a great starter boat. It's basically got just about everything that this has, just a different hull design, so it's a little faster. All kinds of tracks, all kinds of availability. You can also put 2 tackle trays in it. Even though it's a small 10-foot boat, you can put 2 tackle trays in it. It's open concept. It doesn't have a center console, but if you've got the right PFD, you can put a lot of that gear on you. So you can have roughly the same amount of gear that I've got here, a little less, without the possibility of a rudder. Now, I've seen some guys actually try to DIY some motors on them. I wouldn't suggest it because I think the max capacity is only 350 pounds, but still a great starter kayak. It doesn't break very easily. It's pretty stable. Depending on your weight, you may actually be able to start learning how to stand up in it. It's going to be challenging because it's not as stable as this or a larger boat. But if you're like smaller, $150 type person, you're going to be able to start learning how to stand up in that boat. So number 7 is the Vibe Yellowfin 100. Coming in at number 6, the Perception Pescador Pro. So the Perception Pescador Pro, they've got 2 of them, and I'm going to mention both. So at number 6, there's a 10 and a 12. Both are under 1,000. So the 10-footer is $830, and the 12-footer is $980. So 2 different price points. The 12-footer is obviously going to be a little bit closer to $1,000, but the 12-footer is going to be more stable. And if you're talking about learning how to stand up, and we'll get into that as we get closer, if you notice, they go up in price as we move forward. That's kind of how we designed it. You're going to start getting more stable kayaks where you can start teaching yourself how to stand up. So for the Perception Pescador Pro, sorry, I'm talking really fast. It's very similar to the Vibe Yellowfin 100, kind of similar to this. You're going to have a stand-up seat. They're open concept. They are not center console. You're going to have built-in tracks. You're going to have a rear tank well and a front tank well. The difference is on those, instead of having where in the Sea Ghost you've got the closed tank well, it's going to be an open tank well. So you can put bags up here, and there'll be like a bungee cord up here, so you can put all kinds of gear up here. It's just going to be exposed to the elements. There's nothing wrong with that. If you buy a dry bag, you can still take whatever you need to with you. So Again, at number 6, the Perception Pescador Pro, 10 and 12.
Kind of a duo there. So number 5, Perception Outlaw. So if you've seen his channel and if you've watched a couple of his videos, you might have seen his walkthrough on this boat. So I'm not going to go super in depth on it. I'm going to keep it real brief, real simple, just to give you the basic highlights of it. This boat is about that mid-range through these 10 kayaks that we're going to talk about. So it comes in at right at around $850 on the price point. So it's getting up there in price for a lot of people that are really getting started off, but for your bang for your buck, it's a phenomenal deal. It's wonderful. It's got one of the biggest weight capacities of all the kayaks we're talking about, coming in 425-pound capacity. So really good. It's still only 77 pounds. It sounds like a lot, but there's some kayaks out there that get up to 100, 110, 120 pounds even. So relatively speaking, for a reasonable sized kayak that's really sturdy and comfortable, you can't beat 77 pounds for a kayak. It is about 35 inches wide, so that's where a little bit of that extra weight comes from, but you're going to get a whole lot of stability from that width. It's going to give you a wider platform, so if you're really looking for something that you can stand up and fish in as a beginner, stable platform that you don't have to worry about a whole lot of wobble, this is going to be a great boat for you. And if you got any more details that you're interested in, just go check out his last video that he did. He did a video walkthrough of this exact boat. So
I love this boat.
yeah, it's a great one for the price. Can't beat it. So like I said, number 5 is the Perception Outlaw. Going down to number 4 is going to be the Ascend, the Bass Pro Shop Special, the Ascend 12T. So this boat's going to be right around that same point as the Perception Outlaw. It's pretty similar on almost all the specs. The biggest thing here is it's really easy to get if you got a Bass Pro in your city or close by even. The price point on it's around that $850 to $900 range. I think what I saw last time was about $870. Now this boat does have a little lower weight capacity, only about 350 pounds, but it is still at that 77, 78 pound weight for the kayak itself. So still a relatively lighter kayak. Now one thing with this that the Outlaw is better with, I think, is the width and the stability of the kayak itself. So it's only 31 inches wide. So you're not going to have quite the width and stability that you have in the Outlaw, but you'll still be able to have enough to where you can kind of start getting your sea legs under you, trying to stand up in the kayak a little bit. But sitting down in it, you're going to be plenty comfortable. It's going to have all the stability you need if you're new to kayak fishing or anything water sports even. It's going to be a great, stable, comfortable boat for you. So number 4, the Ascend 12T.
So I don't know if we meant to do this. I think we went through this the last time we shot it with no lighting. I'll do it. Whatever. So coming in, that was number 4, right? So number 3 is going to be, we got a couple of Old Towns. We split them up this time. I don't know how we ended up doing that, but it makes sense because Old Town is Old Town. So coming in at number 3 is going to be the Old Town Topwater 106. And I'm not going to go into the Sportsman, but they're relatively similar. So first off, Old Town, everybody knows Old Town Canoe. And Johnson Outdoors did a great job when they revamped the brand name and really upped the game of the Old Town kayaks. These two are at number 3 and number 2 for a reason. So going into the Topwater, it comes in number 3 because it's $950, so you're getting up there in price point, but you're also getting an Old Town. And I say that because you're going to get a basic, imagine the basic version of this with no center console. You have a chair, you have a place for some tackle trays, but you're going to have plenty of tracks. You're going to have a rear tank well with plenty of tracks. Very basic. You're also you're going to have like the front open storage area where you can put your own stuff. Very basic. Where it comes into play is it's long lasting. The way it's built comes with a lifetime warranty, I believe, on the hull. As long as you buy it brand new and you don't mess it up. Check that. I'm going to put the link below. As long as you don't run it into a rock or something or do something stupid, if it breaks, Old Town will fix it, much like Vibe and any of the other brands as you start to get past that $500 point.
I think it's mostly manufacturer issues.
Yeah. You're also going to get a very stable 10.5 foot boat that I can say you will be able to start standing up in. Now, the weight capacity on this thing is a little lower, but it's a little higher than most 10.5 foot boats. I don't remember what it is. I'm going to link it below. But a lot of the Old Town boats, the way the hull is designed, it's a smaller boat, but their weight capacity for that size is typically higher than their competitors because of the way that they've designed their hulls. A lot of people, and we'll get into this later when we get a chance, and hopefully I get a chance to do it with him. We do the above 3,000 because I can't wait to play with the expensive kayaks. But a lot of people talk about how slow it is to paddle the autopilot, which is an Old Town that has a built-in Minn-coated trolling motor. But the Topwater series and the paddle versions have just a slightly different hull. So you're not paddling that same boat. It was designed to be paddled. So it still paddles. Doesn't paddle fast, but it still paddles, and it's still got the stability you need to start playing around and start trying to stand up. So at number 3 is the Old Town Topwater 106.
So we're getting up there. We're getting close to number 1. So for number 2, really great kayak here. So it's the Old Town Sportsman. This kayak is, like we said, getting up there at the very top of this price point. So it comes in at about $950. I know that may seem pretty steep to you, but if you've been doing your research on a lot of kayaks, your best bang for your buck is going to be probably mid to high end of this category for getting started out. But that all depends on your preferences, what you need for your situation. Everybody's different. But for $950, you're really getting a lot with this boat. It's got a really high weight capacity, 440 pounds capacity. So that's a lot for any kayak. Even when you start talking about Jacksons and Hobies, not a whole lot of them even have that high of a weight capacity. It's a pretty substantial amount. So if you're a bigger person, tall person, or just a lot of weight, you like to carry a lot of gear, all that, it's going to be a great boat for you just because of the weight capacity. Even though it's still got that high capacity, it's still relatively light. So it's still only 75 to 80 pounds. That's several that we talked about just here in the last couple that are high weight capacity but really lightweight boats. And that's huge. Me having done this for nearly 15 years, lugging around a heavy kayak, sand, or if you're looking at mud or over rocks, it's a pain. Heavy boats, you really want to get some wheels or something like that, but that's another video. But for a 440 pound weight capacity and only 75 to 80 pound boat, can't beat it. Now this boat's also going to be a wider boat. It's got about a 35, 36 inches wide, bigger width. It's going to have a really nice seat in it. The deck has even got foam decking on it that comes with the kayak. It's super nice. It quiets everything. You could drop a hook or a little split shot and it won't make nearly the amount of noise. You won't spook nearly as many fish. It's at a higher price point for a reason, because you get a lot more with that. If I'm remembering right, I want to say if you compare it to the other Old Towns, it's like just a notch above all of them. So it's kind of like the daddy of all Old Towns. You're going to get what you pay for. But overall, great boat. Number 2, Old Town Sportsman.
And just to carry out what he said, guys, a lot of people don't understand, especially if you're getting new getting into this. When I bought this, it did not have these. I showed you guys in a walkthrough these, the pads, the padding, and the padding itself was $80 just to get the padding. And even if you go with the off-brand, it's about $80. It's just a stick-on padding, but a lot of times it doesn't come with it. That's how they get you in the boat, and then you start accessorizing. Now you might be able to do that with your budget, get in the boat cheaper, and then accessorize later. But that's part of the reason, just a caveat, why the Old Town is more expensive, because it's more, what would you say, like ready to use, ready to fish. Like, you're not doing DIY stuff unless you want to add a motor. Like, it's ready to paddle. You get that, you get a paddle, you're on the water. You don't need anything extra. So, that being said, just to carry on. Mm-hmm. Not in any particular order, but coming in at number 1. And this is one of my favorite boats that I've seen on this that I've seen on our list. And this one I can tell you why it's broken up. So it's a Vibe it's the Vibe Yellowfin 120. So the Vibe Yellowfin 1 series is completely different. The 100 is a smaller boat, and it's not rudder ready. The Yellowfin 120 is kind of like the middle brother, where it's the same concept, but now you've taken the Yellowfin 100 and you've extended it, and you've got a dry. You don't have this dry well, and when I say dry well, I don't mean this enclosed dry well. I mean the open space. You don't have this on the Yellowfin 100. You have a small hatch, like the one I have back there, just a circular hatch. On the Vibe Yellowfin 120, you have a full open hatch, and a circular hatch in the middle, and a circular hatch in the back. So now you've gotten the extra length. You have a 12-foot boat, extra space up front, and it also comes rudder ready. So it doesn't come with the rudder, but it comes rudder ready. So you can go out and get, if you wanted to buy a Bixby for that boat later on, you could buy that, say if you're in college and you're really stretching your budget, or if you're just out of college and you're in your first job and this is the boat you're looking at, you could get this boat, get in this boat, fish it for a couple of years, and start to save up for a Bixby and put it directly on this on that boat before you move up, if you wanted to. You don't have to do that. Now, that being said, I just kind of talked about price a little bit. Wait, let me rewind. So the reason why they're separated, right, is because that's the Vibe Yellowfin series, the 100 and the 120. And like I've told you guys before, I'm looking at buying a 130T. It's part of the same family, but it's a tandem. It's a tandem that doubles as a massive single because you can switch the seating positions. So that's why we kept them separate. Now going back to the Yellowfin 120 and why it's number one, we talked about we started at the lowest price and worked our way up. This one this year is coming in at $999. So if you want to get into it and under $1,000, it's literally only under $1,000 at this point because we haven't added the tax. So,
but depending on what state you live in, you might not have any.
So there you go. You might still be able to get it under $1,000. But you know, for you guys who are budget stretching, like I've said before, this thing's only $1,100. So it's kind of a budget stress, but it's not. It's still right there at it. So again, that one is my favorite because it's rudder ready. It's got a serious amount of riggability, and it's 12 feet. So you're going to be able to stand up in that one, much like the Pescador Pro 12-footer. The Ascent, well, the Ascent 12T is a little bit different. But not only are you going to have that stability, you're also going to be able to rig it. You're also going to be able to add to it if you want to. There's a lot more you can play with. And that's kind of why I like that boat. And then again, it just ended up at number one because of the price point. So coming in at number one, the most expensive of the group is the Vibe Yellowfin 120. So one of the things we talked about doing, and this was supposed to get released before the perception video, and I messed it up. Now that we've gone through all 10, we're going to pick our favorite one. If I was getting into kayak fishing right now, which one would I buy and why? So you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You go first. It's your video.
All right, so I've already done this once, but like I said, go look at the Perception Outlaw. So I'm gonna start with the cons, okay? So first off, I love that boat. The only cons I see is if you're going to start off in that boat and you're paddling, I've heard a lot of people say, so the tracks, if you watch the video, the side handles are the tracks. Like these things, these tracks for accessories are the handles on the side. And they're so wide that it gets in your paddle space. So that's a con, right? I'm trying to think of the other con, but I can't really think of any. To me, I like that boat. It's slow. That's the other con, right off the bat. It's slow. It tracks well, but it doesn't turn very well. To me, I don't care about that. Personally, like I've said before, that's why I like the Seaghost. I don't care about that. I want stability, and I want to be able to add stuff to it. Because at the end of the day, when you're paddling against somebody, you lost 10 minutes getting to the spot. Maybe 15 in the Perception Outlaw, because it's kind of slow. But when you're out there all day, I want to be able to hang out and just relax and fish. And yeah, I want to be competitive if I'm doing a tournament. But you ain't losing the tournament because you missed the spot by 15 minutes. And it's the only one, I believe it's the only one on that list. If you go back and watch the video, we measured it with the catch tray, kind of joking around. That seat's 7 inches off the deck, stock. So you're not sitting down low. Like, it's the only one that sits up that high in this entire category. I mean, yeah, when you get to the next category, you get to the Bonafide SS 127 or the Vibe Shearwater 125, where you start to get up out of the deck. But in the below $1,000 category, to me, I like that because you're up. And if you're a bigger guy, or just like me having health problems, whatever, standing is something that's challenging anyway with this. But if you can, standing is something you need stability for in general, but if you can get stability and a raised seat, and you mix that with a stand assist strap, you're going to be able to stand up. My buddy who owns this one is much larger than me, and he can stand up in it, no issues. So, again, reason why I like, to me, it's like a major skiff. I've seen people add an outboard to it. So anyway, I'm sitting here selling this kayak, but to me, I think honestly that Perception has no idea what kind of product they have, and that's not going to be under $1,000 in 2 years. So if you're looking at it, you ought to go look at it now.
I agree. Yeah, it's a good pick. So one thing you mentioned, and we've been talking about a lot, is which one is best for you. Could be any one of these. Everybody's got a different situation, what they're looking for, what kind of fishing they want to do, what kind of water they're fishing in, what they're comfortable with, everything. There's so many things that play into this. We're just kind of trying to give you an idea of what those options are. So we've talked about a lot of different old towns today. I think there's 3, maybe 4 on the list. And I kind of got to go back to where my beginnings were and go with an old town here. We talked about that. My very first kayak that I ever had outside of just a canoe is on this list, and that's the Old Town Vapor. I started off in the 10.5 foot Vapor angler, and I fished out of that kayak for years. I probably had it for probably 3 or 4 years until I wanted something that I could stay out on the water a little bit longer and fish a little bit more comfortably, stand up, and I also started doing a lot more salt water and tidal currents fishing as well. And so I moved up quite a bit, and I moved into a Jackson. But the Old Town Vapor, for the price point, if you're getting started off and you're not super comfortable in a kayak yet, you can't go wrong. It's a sit inside, so you may get a little bit of splash build up in the bottom of it. It's not going to have the self bailing like the sit on tops with the scupper holes do. There's a few things that you're going to give up going to the sit inside, but for the Old Town kayak, you're going to get a reliable kayak that's comfortable for a little while, and you'll catch plenty of fish out of it. I guarantee it. If you don't, blame it on him because he can't catch fish either. So I don't know.
You notice we haven't got fishing on this channel all the time.
But my pick is by far for starter kayak, the Old Town Vapor. Can't really go wrong with it. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of the kayaks on this list. They're all wonderful boats, but Old Town's got a good product.
Yeah. Great product. It's one of the oldest products in America. And this one's only $600.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if you're a college student, that might be a budget stretch, but is it really? I mean, we all know you get your taxes back, so I'm just saying. All right, guys, there you have it. There's our top 10 under 1,000 and our personal picks. And like we said before, hit like, hit subscribe. Let us know if there's anything else. If you have any questions on any of these kayaks, any other ones that you want to see anything on. If you're getting anything out of this channel, like I've said a million times and 5 times on this video, hit like, hit subscribe. And if you'll notice, to close this out, we were trying to find some actual St. Patty's Day shirts to be more festive, but we just had green. So like I said before, if you're going to be out this weekend celebrating St. Patty's Day, celebrate responsibly. Enjoy it. Aaron, go broad, everybody.
Cheers.